All right, in this video, I'm going to go over how I track my time for my clients and then how I send a message every month for getting billed, basically for the invoice. And so originally, for one of my clients, he would just message me on, usually it was doing the day before, hey, what are your hours? How many hours did you work this past time period? And so what I was doing was I would just go and look it up, and then I would send it over to him. But then he recently asked, hey, can you send it into a specific Slack channel, how many hours you worked? Yeah, I could do that, which also got me thinking, why don't I just automate this? So let's go and see how I did that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I set this up and the automation that I set up for it. I'm going to actually walk through and do it all in this video. So let's go ahead and go over here. Oops. So let's go here, and then first off, I'm using ClickUp. So what I do is I just have a simple task here. This is some example tasks that I did. Say this client here, EMS tech work. Now 1/2 for May, that is because this client wants it, or he does his payments on the 1st and the 15th. So the first half and then the second half of May. Now over here for the status, I just have a simple status of in progress, sent for payment, and then finished, or well, more just completed once the payment's been gone through. So there's that. And then I just have the time tracked column here. So if I'm going to be working on a project for the client, what I do is I just come in here and I start my time tracker. And so now it's calculating my time, or now it's recording my time. Then over here is what the specific client is, just so I can have a drop down here for the client. And then over here, this is what I have set for whatever I charge the client per hour. So say, for example, this client, I'm doing $200 an hour. Then over here, I actually have a calculation that will calculate what the actual amount is. And that's a very simple calculation. So if you haven't used ClickUp, to add a column in here, what this one is a formula. So we just come down here to the formula, and then that is formula there. So you add that formula in, and then very simple, in the formula field, it's the time tracked in hours. So right here, time tracked in hours, and then the star for multiplication times the hourly rate, which is this custom field that I have right here. That's what that does. So it's been running for about a minute now. Now we'll see, this actually gives me a live total. Well, when I pause it, when I stop it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop it, and you'll see how this amount changes. So now I can see that amount went up. And so now I can always know that's what I'm getting paid for this half of the month, or this month if it's this client. So now what I want to do is I want to automatically on the first, well, they said he asked me for the day before. So on, say, the 31st or 28th, 29th, 30th, or 31st, or the 14th, automatically send him the amount of time that was tracked into a specific Slack channel. So let me walk through and show you how to do that. And I'm actually going to build it out here. So this is a very simple workflow. All right, so over here, this is using Make. And I actually like Make better than Zapier. I think it's much better. I believe it, well, it is, it's cheaper. I think there's a lot more you can do with it. So what I'm actually going to do is, if we look over here, Make, it's make.com. Now I do have my affiliate link, and I'll have it down in the description, but you can just go to clicklaunch.ai/make, and then you'll be able to sign up for it. I think it's great software. I've been using it for 3 or 4 years now. I also do have a video, which I'll put probably up in one of the corners here of my video, of just my overview of why I think we're comparing Make to, really just talking about Make, but also compares it to Zapier. Zapier is great too. I use it, but I use Make for most of my automations. All right, so that's what we're going to do, is we're going to build it out in Make. So what I'm going to do, this is a simple workflow, but let's just go and build it out so you can actually follow along and build it out for yourself if you want, and get some ideas on how you can do this for yourself. All right, so we're gonna go over to, I just got another tab open here, and I'm going to create a new scenario, and we're going to start here. The way I'm gonna start is, for ClickUp, I need to look up and find out what task it is. And for this example, this is for this specific client. So in here, I'm going to do ClickUp. I'll go ClickUp, and this, since they don't have a search for a task, they have get a task, but you need a specific task ID. So the way we're going to do this instead is we're going to list all tasks. And now in here, make sure you have your connection. We're going to map it out. Instead of mapping, I'm going to select. So it's going to walk through and just, we're going to select the workspace, and we're going to select the folder or the space, and we're going to go basically find where that task is and what list it is. This, I don't have it in a specific list, so I'm going to do just a folder list. And then in this list, it's the specific one called client time tracking. Hey. And now what I'm going to do is I want to filter down even more. So I'm only want to get the ones that are, say, in progress, because that's the ones that are just in progress. And then that is going to be it. Limit to whatever, that really doesn't matter. We'll just do that. So click OK. And now from here, I'm going to run one so that we have some data. All right, so if we look here, we have it's pulled up the different tasks. And if we look, we have 1, 2 tasks in here. So we have bundle 1 and we have bundle 2, which is the other task. All right, so now we have all of our information here. Let's go building the next step. So the next step I want to do is I want to send a Slack message. But for this client, remember, I want to send on the 14th and then on the end of the month. And what I'm going to do is we're going to add a router in here. So I'm going to add a router. A router, if you know Zapier, it's similar to paths. Same thing, they just call them routers. And then from here, now you can have 2 different branches that go off. And then we put filters in so they only go down specific branches. Next, I'm going to have it send a Slack message. So I'm going to look up Slack. And I'm going to create a message. Okay, so now I will select the specific Slack channel. What I'm going to do is for my Slack over here, I just have a simple Slack, a testing channel. So I'm just going to test it in here. And then when we're done, then I'll actually select my client's channel, actually in his workspace. So here I'm going to select from list. It's a public channel, and I'm going to type in testing. That's what I use for testing. Now in here, I'm going to send him a simple message. What I'm going to say, in this case, I'm going to say, hey, say this client's name is Mike. Hey, Mike, here are my hours for the, we're going to say hours for the half of the month. I'll probably make this better later on. But now I'll go down here and then I'm going to say hours. And now what I like to do is I like to make this part bold. So the way I do that is you put the little asterisks before and after. And then over here. So now for the hours, what we're going to do is we're going to find in the task here. If we look at this, we can find the hours down here. Where is it? It's actually time spent. Now if we look at this, time spent, and it says 2694429. What is that? Well, that turns out that's actually in, I believe it's milliseconds. So that's probably not what my client wants to see. We want it actually to be in hours. So let's go ahead and build that out. What I'm going to do when I do something like this to test, instead of sending all these Slack messages, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a tool, and we're going to, I like to do is set multiple variables. This is what I can use for testing. So I can actually drag this right in here. I'm going to unlink this for now, since it's just going to be this that's going to run. And what we're going to do is this, whatever, time. Now here, I'm going to take the, where is that again? There we go, time spent. And what I'm going to do, we divide this by 60. We divide it by 60 again. So that's milliseconds divided by 60, divided by 60. Hold on, let me look over here what I had. That's right, divide by 60. Really got to divide by, so if you divide by 60, that'll give you down to how many minutes it is. Then divide by 60 again for how many hours. And we're going to divide one more time because it's milliseconds. So we need to get the decimal shifted over. So divide by 1,000. So now if I do that, now I can actually test to see what the output is. So I'm going to run once. And if we look at the 2 operations, the 2 bundles, so if we check this first one, time spent 0.4748. This one was 7.646. If we look, that was 7.38646. That is about, yeah, that's the time for how long that was. And this one 0.44, so that's what, a little bit over 60%. And so that would be, oops, this one up here, 0.74. Yeah, 75%. That's about right. So we got that number, correct. But the other thing is, look at that. It showed up in all these decimals. My client doesn't need to see that. I wouldn't send that over. So what I'm going to throw in here, we're going to go to the math functions, and I'm going to do round. So we'll round that, close the parenthesis, and now we'll run it again. And we'll take a look at this. So this rounded up to 1, this rounded up to 8. You can do that how you want. So that rounds, but now that, I may be adding more time than I actually did or taking time away from me. Probably don't want to do that. So let's make that a little bit different. Instead of rounding, let's actually format it for, we don't want to send 2 decimals over. Probably just 1 decimal. So we're going to format the number, and then all of this will go inside here. So I'm going to get rid of all these. And just to make sure this works correctly, I'm going to put all of this within a parenthesis. So I'm click the parenthesis there, close, get rid of the last bracket, and then close the bracket there. And sometimes what I like to do is put this on a new line just so I can see the formulas. Come down here. Now I get to the end of the cursor here, and we go new line. Now the next we see for the format, after that the number, then you're going to do the decimal points. So now that's highlighted, put the comma or the colon. In Make, it's colons, as opposed to in Excel and Google Sheets, it's the comma for formulas. But we do this, and next it's looking for how many decimal points. I'm going to say 1 decimal point. And then you do the colon again, with a semicolon, saying that wrong. A decimal separator, what do I want to separate the decimal by? Well, we just want a period. That's normal. And then I'll close the brackets. Now let's click OK, and let's run this again. Now if we look here, we have 0.7. That sounds better. And this one is 7.6. That's perfect. But now as you see, this is pulling in both, and we don't want both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a filter in here. And for this one, now this task, I'm always going to call it EMS tech work. We'll just leave it at that. That's going to be enough. And what I'm going to do here for the condition, I'm going to say task name, not equal to, but contains. So as long as it contains this, then it will pass through the filter. And we'll just say Mike here. Okay. And now if I run it, we should only have 1 bundle that should come out. There we go. So the filter didn't pass on the other one because the other one is not named EMS Tech Work. If we look here, we just have that 1 bundle, 7.6. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So now I can connect this, and then we go up to here to Slack, and this one, now instead of putting that, we're going to get rid of the ClickUp. So another thing, if you look in here, if I hover over any of these, see how this is pulsating over here? If you don't know Make, then when it pulsates, it shows that's where you're grabbing the data from. This one up here, the tools, grabbing the data from here. Also, if you look, the number 1 here is the number 1 here. And then the number 4 here is number 4. So you can know which module you're grabbing it from. Now for this, we're doing the hours. So if I come down, I'm going to grab. So what I can do, I could use this and keep this variable in here. However, if I do that, what that's doing is now that's causing an operation, and that's taking away from my operations each month. And the beauty about Make, for example, versus Zapier, and maybe even Pabbly, not 100% sure on that, but I know for Zapier at least, you have to add a module in that to format time or date or money or numbers or anything. You got to put a module in there, and that actually takes an operation. Whereas Make, you can do it all, the formulas within your module, so you can minimize your operations. So that's how we're going to do this. I'm going to go back in this module. Since we know this works, I'm going to highlight all this, copy it, and I'm going to come back into my Slack channel here, and I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to paste it in there. Okay. Now I click OK. And now what I can do is I can delete this module. We got the filter still in there, and now I'm saving an operation. Now if I come up to here, it's going to put the time there. Maybe even I want to put the amount too. So I can put the amount, like making it bold, and then this is going to be easy. I can just map it straight from here. I can just take from the custom field and take whatever that. Zoom this in. Yes, I can. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Then from here, I can just take this, which will then put in that amount. but at the time I'm going to do that little formula there. So I can do that. And we're going to click OK. And now we have that. But now I can clone this out. And then I can put it down here. We can delete this one. But now if I do this, it's going to run for both. And maybe this is, let's do this as, say, the rename, say first half. So first half of the month. And then this one, I'm going to rename it to second half. All right. But now we need to add a filter in. So this filter, this top one is going to be easy because this is going to be sent on the 14th. So all I have to do in here is we're going to put a condition here. I'm going to go to the time and date functions, and I'm going to take the format date. So I'm going to ultimately use this now, and that's whatever the current time is when it goes to this module. But if I do this, it gives the time, the date, we have time, date, in like the ISO format and some weird, crazy, too much that we need. So I'm going to format it. And that's what this is for. So you can take whatever input and you can format it to a specific output. Maybe I just want the date. Maybe I just want the date and time. And you have all that to do in there. What I'm going to do here, so I'm going to put the cursor back here and I'm going to put the now time. And then over here, I am going to set this to just extract the day. Now the way I do that, it's actually going to be the DD for day. But now how do I know that? All right, so I'll put this link probably down in the description too, but what this is in Make their tokens for date and time formatting. And so for here, if we look down year, month, day token, if I go down to this DD right here, this will return just the day of that month with the leading 0. I could do it without, either way, it doesn't really matter. But that would just be just D, but DD will give the leading 0. Either way, both should work. So that's where I got that from. We'll come back here and we'll put that. Now, this has to be equal to, since I want this sent out on the 14th, just put in 14th. Very simple there. Now, down here, this is going to be a little bit different. So this, we want the last day of the month. And if we look in our time and date here, there's not a last day of the month. We got to do a little workaround for this. What we're going to do is we're going to come back here and we are going to do a format date, but what we want to do, I actually had to look this up and I found this, actually it makes a lot of sense. But the way this is going to be is we're going to add a day. Let me back out of here first. Before I do this, we're going to have this only run at certain intervals. I'm not going to have it run all the time because this only really needs to run on the 14th and the last day of the month. So either the 28th, 29th, 30th, or 31st. So I'm going to change the timing of this to only run on days of the month. From here, I'm going to select the 14th. And I'm going to select, in this case, we're going to have it check the 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st to find out, is that the last day of the month or not? 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. When I want it to run, he didn't say a time. So let's do 9 o'clock. Do 9 a.m. All right. So now it's only going to run on the 14th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st at 9 a.m. And we're actually going to put a filter in here first. So in this filter, yes, we have it. The task needs to be that, but I'm also going to add in another rule. And this is where we're really going to put the filter in. So it only passes this if it's on that day of the month. For this, what I'm going to do is that same, here's an easy way. Come back here, copy this, do the same thing here. We're going to do this over here. Add an and rule, format date now, date equals to 14th. And we're also add an or rule because we also want it to do on the last day of the month. So or, now we have another section down here. This over here is going to be the same thing, task name. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste that in there. And so now this is a section that works together, or a one condition. This is or another condition. This is where we're going to put in that formula. So this we're going to do format date. But what we want to do, we want to take the now. But the way we're going to do this is we're going to have it take the whatever the day is, or we're going to have whatever that month is. We're going to have it add one day, and if that month, if it adds a day and the month is different, then we'll know that that means that's the last day of the month. You'll see a little bit better here when I explain it. Right? Show it. Well, before I do the format date, I'm going to show you how. So we're going to say add a day, and we're going to take now, and we're going to add just one day in. Okay, so what that's going to do is that's going to, if today is the 26th, then adding one day, it'll make this output would be the 27th. But we don't want just that. What we want is we want to just extract the month. So what we're going to do that is we're going to format the date. This again is all for our first part of the formula. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and let's grab, say, I don't know, let's just do this. So MMMM, which would be the full month. Really doesn't matter, but capital M, 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 M. So I'll take the full month. So it's taking this as adding a day, and it equals to the full month. Oh, actually, sorry. This is supposed to be down here, because up here is just formatting. Sorry. This is what we're doing. Okay. So this is taking the current date and time, and it's transforming it into just that month. So if it's May, it'll say May is equal to, now this is adding one day, but we don't want it to be equal to, we want it to be not equal to. Because if this says May and then this outputs June, then that means that's correct because that means we're on the last day of the month. Here's an example. May, we have 31 days in May. So if this runs on the 29th, this is going to output May. And then down here, if you add one day to May, that's going to put on the 30th, which again, the output is going to be the month. So the output of this is still going to be May. So they're going to be equal, means not the last day. Again, if we make this if this is the 31st, it's going to output May. Down here is going to take the 31st and add a day, which puts it at Saturday, or well, the 1st, which means that month is going to be June. And so that means it's the last day. As long as they're not equal to, then this will pass the filter and it'll move on. All right, so I'm gonna run that. So actually, let's just do this. Let's just run once and see. And these filters should not pass this filter because today currently is the 12th. Oh, gotta just save that for now. So run once. And as we see, it did not pass the filter because the day is not the last day of the month. Good, so that worked. Well, we don't know if it positively worked, but it worked on the non-sending days. All right, so back into here. This first one is as long as the 14th equals the 14th, or as long as the day of now is the 14th and outputs 14, it'll work. This one down here, we're going to just take this same formula over here. So I just come down. I could really just take this and do the same formula, put it down here and do not equal to. Either way, it would work. But I'm going to do this instead here. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to copy this. Come back into here, paste it in, and we're going to say not equal to. And this is going to be last day of month. All right, now we have that. And now what I'm going to do, so let me save this just to make sure it's saved. And this message, I want to change the message up a little bit. What I'm going to do is, let's just check my notes over here. Okay, yeah, I just did this. Here are my art track for the 1st to the 14th. And then have that, and that's good. Now, here's another thing. If I wanted to say tag him so he gets notified, probably not, but let me just show you this anyways. If you want to tag someone, I know people ask this a lot. And nope, we need to go into Slack. Where's Slack? Pull Slack over here. I'm going to pull up, where's one of my, we'll just pull up myself, for example. Say I want to tag myself. So if you select yourself and you click on your name, and then if you click on the 3 dots here, you can copy member ID. When you copy member ID, now if I come down here, the way to tag someone, you're going to put the caret, the @ symbol, their contact or their user ID, and then the other caret. Now this is going to tag them just as if you were to tag someone in a Slack message, start typing their name out. This will put their name in there. So that's how we can do that. Although I wouldn't do myself, I would do Mike, or do my client. But that's how that would work. We can do that. And now what I can do is say I want to, maybe I'll clone this out now, put it here, delete this one. Sometimes it's easier just to do that instead of going and building everything out again. But now here, what we're going to do is I'm going to say the 15th to, all right. So in here, I could just put I could just type in last day of the month. However, since we're automating it, let's make it better. So we're going to do here, I'm going to go and I'm going to format the date. Again, we're going to do now, but this time, all I want to grab is, and it's kind of cool with Make what you can do. So I want to grab the day, but there's the 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. So first ends in ST. And it's cool what you can do with Make is you can actually take the day of the month with the ending. So that would be capital M, lowercase o. Come back here, I'm going to do capital M, lowercase o. So now it'll say 15th to 30th, 31st, whatever it is. And we will save that. All right, so we're good on that. But now the next thing I want to do is, now I'd have to go and create a new task in ClickUp. So how about I just automate that process as well? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ClickUp and I'm going to update a task. First, I'm going to take this one task. I'm going to move it over to sent for payment. So we're going to edit task with custom fields. And I'm going to go into this one. Workspace. Client automation ops. And I'm going to get down to folder list. We're going to go to client time tracking. Just step down, getting into that. Task ID, I'm going to turn now instead of selecting it, because it's going to be different every time, we're going to turn the mapping on. And then we're going to take the task ID from that first module, because that's the one that it looked up. And now what we're doing, I'm going down, we're just changing the status from in progress to sent for payment. Now it's going to be sent for payment. Nothing else I need to change on here, nothing else I'm going to do. So I'm going to click OK. And that is it. I can clone this out, connect it down here, and now we can do this. This is going to be the same thing because, again, the paths here and the filters, only one path is going to run each time. Sent for payment. So that's all we're doing. I forgot to change this. This should be second half. Why did that happen? Second half. Good. But now once I move that task down to the send for payment, now I want to create the next task. So that's what we're going to do. I go here, ClickUp, and we're going to create a task. Create a task. And I got to step down into each one. That's the one thing. It takes a while to load for each of these as you're getting through your workspace, space, folder to get down to that nest. All right, set list, client time tracking, and now we're here. All right, so the task name, because I set this one up as just being this one client, so I'm going to do the same format that I do. Now this is going to be, since this is the first half, we'll make this 1/2, and then we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We take, oh, never mind. Well, I want to get the actual month. Where is it? Oh, here we go. So this is going to be, if we look at the formatting, first half, May. So now I want the month in there. What we're going to do, I'm going to, all right, so if I format, and if I just take the now, and then I put in here, let's see what the month is. Maybe I just want the abbreviation. For me, that works. So I'm going to do the 3 short abbreviation. So if I did this, MMM, now this would work for this one. But once we get down to this one, it's not going to work, because what this is actually, I got to change that up. No. Okay, so this is the first half, this branch up here. This is the first half. And what this is doing, right, so this is on the 14th. Well, now I create my task. I need to create a task for this branch. So this needs to be 2 of 2, and it's still gonna be the same month because I got the first half and the second half of the month. So that's good there. What else we're gonna do down here? I want to assign it to myself. Status is going to be in progress. Due date, start date, start time, all of that. This I'll put in, for example, say this one I was going with $200 an hour for this client. And then here I'd select the client, and then we're going to click OK. Now I'm going to clone this one, and we're going to put it down here. And same thing, but this time this is going to create the first half. And now remember, this is going to do now. And if this runs on the last day of the month, then this is going, so if this runs on the 31st of May, what it's going to do, this is going to put in May again. So we don't want that. So now I want to take this time, which is now, which is the 31st. I want to make sure it goes to the next month. So I can go to the format. I can add a day. Essentially what we're doing before. And then get rid of that. So we have add day now. So we're taking that, comma, and we're adding 1 day, which will make it the next day, just to be safe. Let's do 2. Really doesn't matter. Or it'll work the same. And then we have that add days. And I gotta close that parenthesis. So if you hover over the parenthesis here, the little underlines, that's going to show you which formula you're working with. And so now we know. And this, now we look at the format. So now this is going to output the next month, the first half of next month. And everything in progress, all that's the same. We're going to save that. I can auto align. And that is pretty much it. So now this will work. If we wanted to do, let's see, today is the 12th. So let's do this. Let's set this up, and we'll say, I want to run the 12th. I'm going to say, yeah, the 12th. And that's going to be the top one here. We're going to say the 12th, just for testing purposes. I'm going to save this, and now I'm going to run this once. And what we should see, go over to ClickUp here. Okay, so it ran it, and look, it got down here, sent for payment, and it created a new task, second half of May. There, it's all set up, ready to go. If I go into my Slack, should see a message in there. Go down to testing. All right, so that didn't, so we got the hours, but the amount didn't come out correctly. That's why we test. But you see it tagged me here. So let's go back and fix the amount there. So go back in the message. The amount we're going to do, since it didn't bring the dollar sign, I'll put the dollar sign in. And this is the number. We're going to go to the math functions, and I'm going to format number again. Custom field, and I want decimal points. I want, for this, I'm not going to send over pennies, and I'm just going to do 0 decimal points. Let's see, what is that going to do? Is that going to round? Oh, actually just truncate it off. Maybe do round. However you want to format it. If you do this, it'll just truncate it off. So this will come out as 1529. But say this was 1529.9, then it would still just cut it off, and it would say 1529. But maybe I wanted to round up to 1530. So in that case, you can either format it or you can round. Now, when you do round, it just rounds to a whole number. So you probably wouldn't want that. So we're going to actually just format it here. And we're going to say, now you can also do, no, never mind. We're just going to round it there. And we want the decimal separator to be period. And then the other one, if you want the thousand separator, if you want that in there, say comma, since I'm in the United States. Now let's see how that turns out. Now we don't need to create the task anymore. Just unlink this. We're just going to test the Slack message. All right, so what was the error here? Well, good, an error happened, because then I can show you what to do. Well, what went wrong? So this says function format number finished with error. NA is not a valid number using symbol separator. Oh, that's because, it's looking at the new one we created, and that's 0. So let's do this. Let's come back here. Let's get some time in there. Let's do 5 seconds. 5 seconds, 32 cents. Cool. Now if we run it, it should work. Okay, let's see what our message is. $0. Okay, let's go back here. Let's just add in say 1 hour. Now let's try it and see what it does, which it should be. So 200.32. Let's see how that comes out. $200. There we go. And if we wanted to, this is how I do a lot of my testing. Yeah, let's do that. Let's make this, say, 45 minutes. Let's add that in. So now it's 145. So this would, 350.32. And let's see how that rounding is. 350. I think that works great. 14. Yep, perfect. That's exactly what I want. So now what I'll do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to change this back to the 14th. And then change this back to the 14th. We'll connect this. I can go name these if I wanted, but it's pretty straightforward. And then I'll save this, auto align, and then I can turn it on, and now it's going to run on the 14th, each of the days, for 14th, 20th, 29th, 30th, 31st. Only pass filter if it's for that specific client, and if it's on one of those days. Send out a Slack message, update the ClickUp task to move it to the sent for payment, and then it will create a new task to start my next set of invoicing. All right, that's it for this video. So what you can also do is at the end here, maybe you don't want to send out a Slack message. Maybe you want to send out an email. You can add in an email here. You can send to other softwares, various things. You can even send within ClickUp, probably even if your client is within ClickUp, add a comment to it. Number of different ways you can do to notify your client of what the invoice is, even go to some invoicing software and automate that. You would just look up here to see what software it is, say Invoicing, maybe Zoho Invoice, Stripe, you can even send that, QuickBooks, you can create an invoice, many different ways you can do that. But yeah, that is it for this video. Hopefully that helps and hopefully you learn some things. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I will be sure to answer them and reply back to you. And with that being said, I'll see you on my next video.